Hi everyone. I get to listen today to another famous piece of music. Actually, I know the name and I have heard versions of this song before, and that is Eric Clapton's Tears in Heaven. Well, yesterday afternoon, Vlad asked me, do you know the name Eric Clapton? And I said, yes, I do. He wrote Tears in Heaven, didn't he? And he said, oh, you've already heard it. I said, well, I've never heard Eric Clapton. I didn't even realize that he was a performer. I thought he was the composer. I have heard young people sing versions of it on a couple times on some Got Talent shows. Maybe it was Britain's Got Talent, or I don't know, maybe one of those knockoffs. And I've also heard sometimes students do a sort of improvised by ear arrangement of it because they like the song and they want to play it on whatever instrument. So I'm familiar with the song in general, and I do know Eric Clapton's name as a composer of the song, not as a singer. And so Vlad said, well, you've never heard him sing it. And he sat down and he told me the story behind it. What a tragic story. And I don't know, as I think of it now, it still feels very heavy and kind of sticks with me. Well, you know, artists have to process their emotions through their art. And so I can completely understand how Eric Clapton, as he dealt with the aftermath of this incredible tragedy of losing his son in such a tragic accident, that he would put his thoughts and feelings and channel them into a piece of music. And so it makes sense to me. Vlad's question was, how can anyone sing a song after something like that? But we artists, we have our ways of dealing with our emotions and traumas, and music is one of them. So I have some things to read, and then I will listen for the first time to Eric Clapton performing Tears in Heaven. Eric Patrick Clapton is an English rock and blues guitarist, singer, and songwriter. He's regarded as one of the most successful and influential guitarists in rock music. He ranked second in Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. Second. And fourth in Gibson's top 50 guitarists of all time. He was also named number 5 in Time magazine's list of the 10 best electric guitar players in 2009. Clapton has received 18 Grammy Awards, as well as the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to Music. In 2004, he was awarded a CBE for services to music. He has received 4 Ivor Novello Awards from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers and Authors, including the Lifetime Achievement Award. He is the only 3-time inductee to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, once as a solo artist, and separately as a member of the Yardbirds and of Cream. The only one to be inducted 3 times. In his solo career, Yardbirds. I've heard some of you mention Yardbirds. I guess I'll get to that band eventually. In his solo career, he has sold more than 280 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling musicians of all time. In 1998, Clapton, a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, founded the Crossroads Center on Antigua, a medical facility for those recovering from substance abuse. Elias Leight of Rolling Stone writes that Clapton influenced recording techniques as well as guitar playing technique. During recording sessions with John Mayall's group, Clapton was frustrated by technicians, quote, that just came up to your amp with the microphone and just stuck it 2 inches away from the front of the amplifier. It seemed to me that if you wanted to get the atmosphere we were getting in the clubs, you needed it to sound like you were in the audience 10 feet away, not 3 inches. Clapton then moved the microphones, with Pink Floyd's Roger Waters stating, that changed everything. Before Eric, guitar playing in England had been Hank Marvin of the Shadows. Very simple, not much technique. Suddenly, we heard something completely different. The record sounded unlike anything we had heard before. Well, there you go. Tears in Heaven was Clapton's best-selling single in the United States and reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. In the United Kingdom, where Clapton is from, It reached number 5 on the UK singles chart and also charted in the top 10 in more than 20 nations around the world. It won 3 Grammy Awards for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, Song of the Year, and Record of the Year. In 2004, Rolling Stone ranked Tears in Heaven 353rd on its list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. Yes, I know this song is incredibly popular. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard various and sundry versions of it by students and amateurs throughout my career. So now I want to hear what the real deal is. It would have been beautiful. I would have been taken by it if I didn't know the backstory. But knowing the backstory behind this, it cuts so deep and it's so precious. And, well, let's get to the end and then I'll talk some more. It's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's heartbreaking. And it's so incredibly suitable, isn't it? This kind of questioning, would you know my name? You feel the pain and the loss. Would it be the same? Well, this is actually a topic that Vlad and I have talked about from time to time. Our conclusion is that love is eternal. And so whether you have lost somebody, the connection is still there. And so surely, in any future life or form, the love still binds. That doesn't diminish the tragedy, does it? But there is a sort of comfort to the idea, isn't there? I'm thinking also about what I read about him recovering from addiction, and I don't know enough about the timeline of everything to know, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't have any criticism if I were to find out that this struggle with addiction may have been a coping mechanism or may have been part of the aftermath.
He recovered when the child was born. He was sober for the entire period of 4 years while the child was alive. And he expressed the idea that he was grateful to have the child for the 4 years because he didn't deserve him anyway.
I'm not going to comment on that. I know that's a sentiment that is sometimes expressed. I'm not sure it's a matter of deserving. But back to the music. What a beautiful piece of music. And maybe I'd like to go back through it a little bit. Technically, I heard some things which strangely remind me of Pink Floyd's sound choices. There's a lot more movement in here than I hear in Pink Floyd's music, at least what I've heard so far is The Wall. But as I was listening to this, I couldn't help but think of the final piece on the album, Outside the Wall, which also has this incredibly beautiful, simple, childlike quality. And Eric Clapton has caught in this piece the essence of innocence, as well as this sort of feeling of being ungrounded, of losing your anchor with a deep loss. It doesn't feel like it feels sort of ethereal and otherworldly, but there is a childlike innocence, not just reflecting the child that was lost, but also from Eric Clapton's side as well. These questions: would you know my name? Would it be the same? Would you hold my hand? And it's the inner child coming out, which is so beautiful to see happen. Let's go back through and let's try to focus primarily on the musical element, because I think the messages and the emotions conveyed in the lyrics are everybody knows them, and they'll affect each of us in our own way. But let's pay attention to the music here. Little chimes. The guitar and the little chime quality and everything else it has this childlike, almost Christmas night magic to it, doesn't it? This somehow coming from another world, this magical storybook feeling, as if you're just floating off into another universe. And dee-dee-deem, the entrance, dee-dee-deem, and then we hear dee-dee-dee-deem, which is not clear in this moment, but later we discover that it's part of the feature of the melody, isn't it? So it feels a bit just like an ornament and decoration here, but later it comes in as a significant feature of the melody. The sort of wood block sound. Another thing that I'm noticing is his guitar sound. It sounds semi-stopped, meaning it's not really staccato, but it doesn't have a long sustain. It's almost as if the strings are being stopped a little bit. We do something like that on the harp sometimes. We put a bit of felt, weave a bit of felt through the strings, and it gives a different sound. And of course on the piano, all you have to do is let go the pedal, and then the keys stop when you release them. But the guitar is more like harp in that once you pluck a string, it continues to resonate until either the vibration gradually decays, or else you physically stop the string. And somehow this guitar sounds like there's some stopping happening. There is quite a bit of stopping happening. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Now the other thing is his voice. As I said, I have heard other people give amateur performances of this piece. And so the melody is not foreign to me. But his voice has a very unique quality to my ears. There's a softness to it, sort of fragility to it in this song. And it's not the kind of pouring out your emotions from the depths of your soul quality, but there's something incredibly emotional in the sound of his voice. If I saw you in heaven, would it be the same? If I saw you in heaven. And this progression, da, 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 which we hear the guitar doing, it is a classic progression, but it's carrying us forwards into the next phrase. Would you know my name? Pause. Interesting that this line, would you know my name? Being a question, it's not shaped like a question. It's your classic arch and descent. Would you know my name? A little squiggle at the end, right? Name. But know is the peak of the phrase. That's emphasizing, would you know my name? If I saw you in heaven. Again, that's a descending line. One of the things this music does to give the sort of subdued quality without being mournful. It's not in a minor key. It's not It's not some depressed mourning the loss. It's more bewildered, isn't it? As if I'm lost. I don't know how to even ask the question. And one of the musical things that gives it this quality is the way in which the lines descend at the end, in a way that is not final. And this progression, it's very classic, but it helps carry us through these transitions from one line to the next. Let's go back and listen to that for a minute. See if we can pick it up. That's essentially your carrying us from 5, and then we feel as if we're ready to arrive back on 1. And it's such a simple, classic progression, but the way he places it between the lines helps to bind these separate phrases together and give us a continuity through the piece. And this is so painful here. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? You see how it just helps carry us through there. So beautiful there. And you notice how every one of these lines is either arching and then falling towards the end, or because I know I can't stay. Oh, I'll find my way through night and day, darker, lower, 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 lower. And then finally, here in heaven, and we arrive back on the home of A. But it's so simple, so beautiful. It has a lot to do with the orchestration that makes it so attractive. And his voice, this lovely, gentle, I don't know if lovely is the right word. I guess I want to say loving. It has this quality of lovingness to it. Nice little walking guitar there. And here, the music kind of swells up, carries us up a little bit, only to descend again. You know, as I'm thinking of this descending of the ends of each phrase, have you beg? Let's go back and listen to this. I have this idea. Time can bring down and bend your knees. Yes, so here, time can bend your knees. That's the first, that's a small place where the ending note is not the lowest note. Time can bend your knees because it's a continuing thought which continues to this.
Time can break your heart, have you begging?
And we might a lesser talent or lesser instinct might say, let's repeat the same thing. Have you begging, please? Why? Because please is usually a request that goes up. Please, please, have you begging, please? But no, he doesn't go that direction of trying to paint the text word by word by word. Instead, he's focused on the overall quality of the music. So when this line comes, have you begging please, that descends again. So we don't end up with this lift of please as we had in knees. What I'm saying is, this is so well constructed to be so soothing and warm feeling, and at the same time express this kind of sense of eternal loss and the descent at each line, the feeling of weakness and powerlessness that one must feel after an event like that. How do you pick yourself up and go on? And the music is doing a fabulous job of conveying that in very small, simple ways.
Time can break your heart, have you begging please?
And then please, now we hear the begging, begging, begging. And this, what is this like? To me, it sounds like sobbing. Dee-dum, da-dum, dum. You know, when you have this, when you're sobbing and you can hardly catch your breath, it has this sort of can't catch my breath quality there.
Begging please.
And the intensity of it. And then we fall back into the peaceful.
Beyond the door.
And after this intense of begging, please, please, this is kind of the most intense part of the piece, isn't it? Please, there's this quality of begging and the implication that there's been a lot of grief and sobbing and just soul-destroying sadness. Then instantly we're brought back to this very peaceful beyond the door and this sort of reassuring thought which is expressed in the music here.
Beyond the
There's peace, I'm sure.
and I know there'll be
And then a hopefulness.
tears in heaven.
And a hopefulness. And I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. And this is the first time I'm seeing the title of the piece. Just after we've been through this incredibly dark emotional moment, traumatic emotional moment, and then returning to the peace, the peaceful, reassuring thought, then the line comes, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven, and there is the title of the piece. I mean, for such a simple piece of music, it's incredibly well crafted and balanced and presents so much of the story, even if one doesn't know the story.
Tears in heaven. Would you know my name?
And then we're back to, this is kind of coming back around to the first question, right?
Saw you in heaven. Would you be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong.
But somehow here it feels more confident. It feels more, there's more strength in it. And I think it's because the instrumentation, it sounds fuller here than it did when the question was first asked at the beginning. So through this whole process, journey that we've taken through the piece, we've come to this kind of confidence and sense of assurance, which gives us strength even in the asking of the question. We come back to the same question again. Because of course these questions come to us. But now we have confidence even as we ask the question. And the music carries us along.
Must be strong.
There's a strength here. As he says, I must. And it gets dark here.
'Cause I know
And here we go.
I don't belong here in heaven.
Nice little guitar flourish at the end. Well, as we know, when one creates a work of art from their own personal experience, it has this quality of authenticity and genuineness and sincerity, which no matter how accomplished and great the artist is, it's almost impossible to get that same sincere quality with an idea you just imagine yourself going through. You just create in your imagination. This is one of those which clearly comes from a deeply tragic, traumatic personal experience. There's a history of musicians throughout the centuries. Some of their best works are created after experiencing the deepest tragedy. Of course, this is one of those where, we would be incredibly grateful if this piece of music didn't exist, if we never had this beautiful song, because that would mean the tragedy never happened. But once again, an artist has dug deep into himself and his own sorrow and taken that and given us something incredibly meaningful and beautiful through it. You can hear his faith expressed through these words. You can hear his agony expressed. You can hear the sadness, and you can hear the innocence of himself. You can hear the fact that this was a 4-year-old who died. This quality of childhood inherent in the music and the whole experience. And it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking. And so I feel like saying this is an example of one of those situations which makes an artist truly a creator. What do I mean by that? Well, something happens. Something is taken from you. You're robbed of something. You end up with this great gaping hole. and an emptiness in your experience. And you manage to reach into that emptiness and that terrible, terrible place. And you pull out of it something which, through your own handling and your own person, becomes something that is not emptiness, something that is not a hole. In other words, it is this beautiful piece of music, which has meant so much to so many people around the world. So the artist takes nothing, and it goes through him and comes out the other side something. That is one of the miracles of art. And the fact that it is possible and it happens. And then it binds so many people together around the world and offers so much hope and consolation and comfort to so many around the world. I am not going to say that this was a good thing. I don't dare say such a thing like that. I am not the type to say those kinds of platitudes and nonsense. But at the same time, I recognize the beauty of the creation that took place in this tragedy. And I appreciate it, and I appreciate the courage and the faith that Eric Clapton manifested in the creation of this beautiful piece. Well, I have to say it's been quite moving to listen to his version of it. And I appreciate it deeply. And, well, now I know that he's not just the composer. I'll see you soon.